Excellent. Right. Okay. So this is a report from the first ever World Oceans Passive Acoustic Monitoring Day. And I'm giving it on behalf of both myself, but also Miles Parsons from the Australian Institute of Marine Science, whose birthday it is. And I believe it's also probably after midnight. So he's looking forward. Now, I've just got to just give you a very brief background to WOPAM Day. So first of all, this came about partly through about a 15-year community development project called the International Quiet Ocean Experiment, where bioacousticians working in the oceans have come together, first of all, to imagine what the oceans would sound like in the absence of human activity, but then through a whole series of working groups to try to develop standards, develop approaches, develop ways of monitoring biodiversity hotspots, ways of monitoring sound in the Arctic, and so on. And so this time last year, I was getting ready to go off to COP, which was in November, December last year, for a project with Google Arts and Culture called Calling in Our Corals, where the idea here was that we were going to try and take COP27 by storm with the underwater acoustics of Sharm el-Sheikh, the Red Sea, where the COP event was taking place. Now, this is a citizen science platform that allows anyone on the planet to listen to recordings of coral reefs from a whole range of different places around the world, and to interact with them, to score the sounds, to try to help us to build an understanding of patterns in biodiversity, for example, looking at how marine protected areas change biodiversity with reducing fishing impacts. So in launching Calling Our Corals, we found that we could actually live stream the sound of the Red Sea to the COP arena. We're very lucky to find Zayed Gohari, who had live streamed the Red Hot Chili Peppers from the pyramids and had all the gear to live stream, which then allowed us to be able to have this live feed from the reefs of the Red Sea into the Blue Zone arena. So this was the shell that we'd built that allowed anyone to be able to come and swim in the sounds of the Red Sea. And this turned out to be a really effective way of connecting people who may not have really spent time in marine environments. One of the most exciting collaborations that came from it was with Inawa Hunikui, who's the president of the Federation of the Hunikui Peoples in the Amazon, who's currently introducing electric boats to the Amazon. And so experimentally, we're able to look at whether the switch to electric engines is having a boost to the catches in the fisheries because of the reduction in noise pollution. So that's where I was this time last year, while Miles was developing the Global Library of Underwater Biological Sounds, GLUBS, which is a collaboration of, at the moment, 17 different scientists who manage GLUBS, but it involves now over 40 institutes collaborating together to try to build this global underwater library. And so over the last 20 years or so, we're aware that there are many more people listening and recording from the world's oceans. And so by collating recordings, we're trying to then explore across all taxa what those soniferous species might be. And there's currently 36,078 species being considered, some of which we know produce sound. Orca, beluga whales, brilliant examples. Some of which we suspect might make sounds. So there are 24,000 species of fish that we don't have recordings of, but we suspect they probably can make sound based on the phylogeny of those species. But also then marine invertebrates and a whole range of other taxa. The idea here is that we can submit this to the World Register of Marine Species to bring acoustics into our understanding of all of these species. So Miles and I both went to a coral reef symposium last summer, and together over a couple of beers came up with the idea of WOPAM Day. We wanted to try and find ways of bringing this growing knowledge of marine acoustics to the world's attention, and collecting and connecting the bioacousticians that were working on this. So this year, on the 8th of June, we were able to hit World Ocean Day with a collective effort to record. So we ended up with 300 acousticians supported by 150 PIs, 100 institutes, 34 countries, taking recordings around the world, all on that single day in history. So it's a very brief film that explains what we were doing, which I'll play now. Hopefully you can hear this. Hi, I'm Steve Simpson, and I'm one of the co-founders of WOPAM Day, where we're getting people to listen to the ocean all around the world on World Ocean Day.
Hi, I'm Filipa Samaha from the University of Iceland. I'm listening to whales in the subarctic to assess habitat use.
I'm listening to and playing back underwater sounds help build Australian coral reef resilience.
I'm listening to the individually distinctive signature whistles of dolphins to better understand their communication system.
We are deploying hydrophones to listen to the soundscapes of coral reefs to try to discriminate between different types and qualities of habitat.
We are deploying and recovering underwater recording instruments to understand how do mesophotic reefs sound and how do they differ from shallow water reefs.
I'm listening to humpback whale song in southern Africa.
We're listening to understand fish communities in Hawaii.
We're listening to soundscapes of the Canadian Arctic under the sea ice, to listen to sounds made by marine fauna, as well as to measure underwater noise from ships once the sea ice breaks up.
And today we are recording sound in freshwater pond to study the ecology, amphibians, fishes, and invertebrates.
Hi, I'm Miles Parsons from the Australian Institute of Marine Science in Perth and co-founder of WOPAM Day. We can't wait to collate these recordings taken on the same day all around the world to help build a new global understanding of noise pollution, biodiversity and ocean health.
So that's where we go next. The question is, what will we hear? And this is something that we would love anyone here who's interested to join. The next stage is that we're going to be collating these recordings, putting them into a public repository, and then having some online workshops where artists, scientists, physicists, machine learning specialists can collaborate to try to pick apart the new species that we might hear. So we'll definitely be doing a lot of guessing the species, and ultimately hoping to be able to report back on what World Ocean Day sounded like in 2023. Next year, we're planning to go bigger and better. And one of the ideas that we're ultimately building towards is whether we could ever have a World Ocean Quiet Day, inspired by the Nyepi New Year's Day in Bali, where all motorized vehicles remain quiet for a day. So that's the direction of travel. Be really keen to have any of you involved in this next step of analyzing, and particularly those interested in machine learning and using AI to analyze very large data sets that we'll have. Okay. Thank you.
Amazing, Steve. My only comment is that your team is very good at naming things. Like your names are so satisfying to say. So my team appreciates it very much. But that was also just such a powerful video, and I wonder if there's some crossovers with our Tech for Wildlife photo challenge, because we get a lot of entries. So I wonder if we could build some bridges or help. Yeah, there's a collaboration there, I feel. So we'll follow up with you afterwards. But if anyone has any questions for Steve, but also, Steve, we'd love to hear updates as you progress as well and sharing with our community. So please keep in touch with us to hear more.